Hey guys, I promise I'm not going to be grouchy in this video. Um, I just want you guys to know what the reasons are that I left Los Angeles and what the reasons are that I've been going on and on and on and begging you guys to get out of there. It's because I have so much invested. I lived in Los Angeles for 10 years, and there are so many people in Los Angeles that I love. There are, I have family members that I watched you grow up. I love you. I don't want you to be hurt. That's why I'm doing this. I have old boyfriends. There's just so many people there. I'm not, look, okay, I'm not gonna be grouchy. I'm not gonna say any kind of like things that could be misconstrued as like catty or anything. I'm not, okay? I'm not gonna say anything. I want you guys to know that that there are very good reasons why you should get out of Los Angeles. Scientific reasons. Okay, so that's what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you this right now and why you should get out now and don't wait. But I understand that it to expect somebody to just get up and go right now, but at the very minimum you should take a vacation at the end of September, okay? And I'll tell you why. I'm going to tell you why. And why am I saying this? Because I love you so much. I have so much. I because it's selfish, okay? It's selfish because um I don't want you to die, and if you die, I'm going to be really upset, okay? So it's a selfish reason that I'm doing this. Yes, it is. It's because I don't want you to die, and I'm going to be absolutely freaking like immobile if I have to deal with this many of my friends and family. Like, okay, so I'm just okay. Here's why. Okay, just please just hear me out. I'm not. I told you I'm not gonna rant. I just want to tell you. I want to tell you why. And by the way, I had a dream last night. That's why I'm. That's why I'm like making this video right now. I just woke up. I had a dream about one of my friends, old friends. Not. I haven't talked to this person in a long time, but I just had a dream about them that I was telling them, and then there started this earthquake, and the Statue of Liberty was there, and it was really weird. No, but it was like there was the Statue of Liberty, but it was like one of those fake ones, one of those little balloon statues of Liberty for some reason. And anyway, the earthquake started, and it was and I was like, what's happening? And I was in Los Angeles in my dream because I was talking to. Anyway, the point is, let me just tell you the reason. That's the reason I'm making this video right now. But the reason that I really think you guys need to get out of there like as soon as possible is because here it is. Okay, here it is. Comet Elenin. I mean, do a research, do a search on it on YouTube. There's like a lot of a lot of information. In a nutshell, it's not the same as any comet that's come by in our lifetime. It's totally different. It's 200,000 kilometers wide right now. Actually, it's more than that. It's more than 200,000 kilometers wide. If you want to know like how big that is, like in relation to when you look up in the sky and you see Jupiter or you see Venus, um, um, you can go online and you can go to these websites that have these. They're called arc minute calculators. Babe, stop. They're called arc minute calculators, and it'll tell you how big the object's supposed to be, like from our perspective. And believe me, it's like It's like half the size of the moon or something. I don't know. I mean, I think it's I think it's like 20 arc minutes or maybe somewhere near that. Because last time I did the calculation, it was 100,000 kilometers, and it was going to be 9.6 arc minutes, and then now it's 200,000. So I don't know. You guys do the calculations, figure it out if you want to. But this day is supposed to be bigger than um than Venus right now. It's supposed to be huge, and for some reason we can't see it. Well, why can't we see it? Because most people are saying, well, what's the only reason we wouldn't see it? Well, because it's not reflecting light. And then, well, you got all these other people saying because it doesn't even exist, but that's crazy. Why would NASA do that? Why would they say a comet existed that didn't really exist? I don't. It doesn't. That doesn't make sense. So this thing exists, I believe, and but we can't see it, and it's freaking huge. So that means it must be absorbing the light from the sun, and it's not reflecting it, which is very alarming because the kind of astronomical objects that absorb light are like brown dwarf stars, which are um, they're like uh, they're objects that have a lot of mass, like a lot of mass. And just so you guys know, um, just because an object has mass doesn't mean that it's big. You know what I'm saying? Like people always go, oh, well, the nucleus of the comet's only 4 to something kilometers wide or whatever. Just so you guys understand, mass is not the same as um, what do you call it? um, weight. Well, it's not the same. Mass is not the same as size. So, like, an object can be really small and have incredible mass. Um, um, so it really doesn't matter how big the nucleus of this thing is. I'll tell you what we know. We know that um, when this thing when Earth passed through the gravity well of this object, which I mean, you could call it gravity well, or you could call it magnetic field well. You could call it whatever you want to call it, but basically, every object that revolves around the sun, we are inside of the sun's magnetic field. All of the planets are inside of the sun's heliosphere, which is like the its kind of magnetic field or something like that. And all the planets are inside of that. So we all the planets interact with the sun, right? I mean, because we're going around it and it's affecting us. Well, the same is true for this comet. So this comet is interacting with the sun as it's entering the solar system, and every time the Earth has gone in between the comet and the sun, there's been the axis of the Earth has shifted. Well, the reason is that the planets and the sun and all of that is magnetic. It's magnetism that's happening between the comet and the sun and the Earth. So the sun has a north and a south pole like a magnet. Like if you remember in school when you played with magnets and they would attract and repel and yada yada. The sun has a north and a south pole. The comet has a north and a south pole, and the Earth has a north and a south pole, just like all the other planets. So, um, um, I'm pretty sure there was a scientific report that Saturn's pole had shifted or something like that because comet Elenin just recently passed Saturn, um, or something like that. I don't know. I know there was like big storms, and then the pole. Somebody had said the pole had. I'd read somewhere. I can't remember that exact. But let me just go on. So um, the poles are when the every time that the Earth, 2 times before, when the Earth went through between the comet and the sun. So there's like this kind of like a magnetic portal, I guess you could call it, that goes between the sun and all the planets because it's a magnetic interaction between the planets and the sun. So, um, when the Earth goes in between, and probably all the other planets goes in between this object that has a lot of mass, and when it goes, but every time it went between the sun and this object, it was like caught in this little magnetic portal, and the axis like flip, it shifted just a little bit, but a little bit for the axis of the Earth is big for us, and you would know that from the Japanese quake and tsunami that just happened in March, and that was the reason that I knew that that was going to happen, guys, because I had been doing my research, I'd been doing my homework basically. Okay, you wonder why people, why people like come to class and they have answers for the, they teacher asks a question and somebody has an answer. Why? Because they did their homework. That's all it is. Okay, I did my homework and now I'm sharing it with you. I'm telling you, I'm giving you my homework for free. I'm not making, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm saying, hey guys, I really like you, do you want me to tell you what's gonna happen? That's what I'm doing right now. Like, I'm not, um I love you so freaking much, and I don't want you to suffer, and I don't want you guys to be there when this quake happens. And you guys know that the news has been telling you that the big one is coming. You know that, okay? And the USGS, the US Geological Survey, they were saying, I think it was like 5 or 10 years ago, I think it was, they were saying that the Earth, the big one, was going to hit within 30 years. Remember that? That's big, guys. They're saying that the big one, that they expect the big one's going to hit within 30 years. I mean, you're talking about like geologists. You know how those people talk. They're talking in like millions of years. Everything's like, oh, maybe in 100 million years. No, they freaking said within 30 years, and that was like 5 or 10 years ago. So guys, I'm telling you, you gotta get out of there. Like, this is real. Okay, listen, there's more. There's more. There's more. Um, Okay, so you understand like that there's stuff going on out in the universe, right? I mean, it's not just us. There's stuff going on out there, and it's affecting our planet. And what affects our planet and what affects the poles affects the tectonic plates, and what affects the tectonic plates affects us, okay? Okay. The magnetism of the earth is mostly in the core where the magma is. It's like this hot lava, and the hot lava magma is just under the crust of the earth. Like, we have a little tiny crust on the top of the on the outermost of the portion of the earth, right? And there's cracks in that crust that goes all the way down to the hot lava that's underneath, the magma, right? And the magma is magnetically attracted to the sun, and also the moon, because like the tides you know how the tides, people talk about the tides go in and the tides go out. It's based on the moon. Why? Because the moon has a certain amount of mass, and it's a certain distance away from us, and it affects our planet. It affects the magma and the earth, and that affects, and it affects the oceans, and it affects the crust of the earth. The magma affects the crust because when the magma pushes upward, just like the water. Okay, just think about the oceans, how the oceans lift when the moon goes by. It like lifts. It's attracted or whatever. And the magma is fluid. It does the same thing. It lifts, but the crust is above that magma. So when the magma lifts, the crust cracks. See what I'm saying? So, like, if a massive object comes by, and remember, it doesn't have to be big to be massive. I mean, look up mass, you know, look up the word mass on Wikipedia, whatever, so that you can understand that something can be very small and still have an incredible amount of mass. Okay, so saying that it's small is nothing, means nothing. Doesn't mean that it can. Have you noticed they haven't told us what the mass is of Elenin? They haven't told us the mass of it yet, because it has a lot of mass. That's what we're all saying. Like, it's not just me. Like, there's a lot of people now that are on board, because it's like, wait a minute, yeah, what the hell? I mean, think about it. Here's the scientific method. You form a hypothesis about something, and then you make a prediction. And if that prediction comes through, guess what? It warrants more investigation. And that's exactly what I did. I formed a hypothesis. I said, you know what? We got all these physicists saying that, warning and saying that earthquakes are going to happen and solar storms are going to happen. Why? Why are they saying this? There's got to be a reason. They're telling us something, but they're like in the system, so they can't just come out. I mean, if the governments tell them, hey, you're not going to talk, you're not going to tell people, they're not going to tell people because they would be killed. But guess what? I'm a nobody. I can say whatever the hell I want, and that's why I'm telling you guys. Like, I figured it out. Don't you get it? This thing is what's causing global warming. It's not I'm not saying emissions are good. I mean, pollution's bad, any way you look at it. But what's causing global warming is this massive object that's entering our solar system. And and it's causing, because it's causing warming on all the planets. It's not just Earth. It's been causing warming on it. Anyway, this object is here right now. It is entering it. And we went through the magnetic portal between it and the Earth. We went through that in 2010, February 27th. We went through that little portal in between the object and the sun, and that caused the axis of the Earth to shift a little bit, and the axis of the Earth shifting caused the um, tectonic plates to shift. Obviously, if the Earth shifts, the tectonic plates are going to shift, and the chilly and there was, when the tectonic plates shift, there's like these little popping um, motions that happen in certain areas. It's like because it's a very small shift, but like I was saying, a small shift is still catastrophic for us because we're tiny little microscopic organisms on the earth. You know what I'm saying? Um, and so there's so when the axis shifted February 27th, when we went through the gravity well or magnetic portal of this object in the sun, just the magnetic interaction. I mean, you could call it whatever you want to call it. When we went through that magnetic interference, maybe that's a better word. When we went through the magnetic interference on February 27th, 2010, it caused the axis of the Earth to shift, and that caused um, the um, the that caused the tectonic plates to shift a little bit, and in the area of Chile there was a big enough displacement or whatever that um, caused the what we call the Chile earthquake. And I don't remember how many people were displaced. I think it was like 100 or 200,000 people were displaced from that or whatever. And then because of that, and because I knew and I saw that these physicists were making these predictions, and I saw everything else that was going on. I've been researching this for like 15 years, guys. Like, really, when I was in LA, I was researching this, and that's why I left LA, because I had started doing this research, and I was doing the research about the geology of the area, and that was when I was like, holy crap, I'm sitting on quicksand at the top of a cliff, at the edge of a huge crack in the Earth's crust that goes all the way down to the magma. Like, I am getting the hell out of here. And it's not just where that location is, it's the fact that there is something else happening that's causing seismicity on the planet. It's the fact that the scientists are warning us about seismicity that is coming. You know what I'm saying? So it's not just, oh, you're sitting in a dangerous area. It's that stuff is happening. And the next significant alignment of this object is September 26th or thereabouts. So it could be a little earlier, it could be a little later. Most likely it's going to be a little earlier. And because that it was last time. Anyway, that's why back in like January, February, whenever I that's why I was saying to you guys, there was other reasons why I knew. Like some of you guys got emails from me before I even started my YouTube channel, and I was like, "Listen, you guys, something's gonna happen. Something's gonna happen next year. I just know it. There's this asteroids coming in. Da 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 da." I can't explain it, okay? I can't explain it. I've developed a close relationship with God, and I guess I don't know. I mean, I just really, I just knew it. I had this feeling in my heart. I just knew it. And, and, I, what was I saying? So then I went and you guys weren't really listening to me. So I went and I started the YouTube channel. And then I was like, listen, listen, like something's going to happen. I started sending out all these messages to all the other YouTubers that had already been like talking about pole shift and stuff like that. I was like, you guys, it's gonna happen. The Earth, the axis of the Earth is gonna shift in March, and they were just like, yeah, whatever. They wouldn't even listen to me. They wouldn't even respond to me. And in fact, by the way, the only person that ever responded to me was Patriotic Space, and I had sent out messages to everybody. And I was like, listen, this is going to happen in March. And they were like, whoa, whoa, whatever. I was like, we need to form survival groups. Anyway, so I didn't know how big the axis shift was going to be. I knew that this this object, I knew that we had gone through the magnetic interference on February 27th, which caused the axis of the Earth to shift a little, which caused the Chile earthquake. Okay, I knew that, and so I was like, okay, well, when is the next time that we're going to go through the interference, the magnetic interference again? And I knew that it was going to be around March 15th. And then right before, like about a week, and that's what I was like, that's what I had been saying since January. I was like, around March 15th, the axis of the Earth is going to shift again because it did before, right? And and like people were ignoring me, and then finally, like some guy said that somebody had called Alex Jones, and then all of a sudden it took off, and then it was like an issue, and people were talking about it and saying, "Oh, March 15th, something's gonna happen," and then like a week before, um, I made that video and I sent it to you guys. It was big earthquake to come and evidence of that there's going to be an event March 11th through the 15th, and then I was like, um, or March 11th through, I'm sorry, March 11th through the 23rd was what I said. But then when you watch my video, I'm like, the comet, the object is aligning between March 11th and the 15th. Okay, so um, but when I looked at the diagram that day, which was a week before, I noticed that um, it seemed like it aligned on the 11th. And because we had all been saying the 15th, right? And we were like, yeah, it's around the 15th. And then a week before, I looked at it, I'm like, no, this is like, it looks like it aligns on the 11th. So then I made that video and I was like, you guys, it's aligning on the 11th. And, I sent that video to like two of my acquaintances in Japan. I sent that video to my friends in Los Angeles and San Francisco, um, because I I um, because I knew that this um, our planet going through the interference, our planet going through the magnetic interference of this object in the sun, I knew that it would, or I postulated, I guess I should say, I postulated that the axis would shift again because it had before. It's not hard. Okay, it's not hard. I just did my homework. That's it. I just did my homework. Okay, that's all. But on top of that, I had an intuition, which comes from God. I believe because I believe in God. Okay, and so I had an intuition on top of the logical reasoning that I had done. Okay, so that's why I was saying I know it's going to happen because I had an intuition on top of all the research that I had done. Okay, so that's all I'm trying to tell you is that I'm this research shows that um the next alignment is going to happen at the end of September. It's going to happen September 26th. And um, only this time, the object that has been causing these 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 situations. And by the way, I mean I didn't say this, but on March 11th, that was when the Japanese quake and tsunami happened. In case some of you just forgot, that's what happened on that day. The axis shifted. Maybe some of you don't know that. The axis did in fact shift on March 11th, and that caused the tectonic plates to shift, because that's what happens when the axis shifts. It causes the tectonic plates to shift, and then the the shifting of the tectonic plates causes earthquakes. And it's not always in the same area. I mean, if it's just a small shift of the axis, which it was in March, then it's, the plates are going to shift, and it's unpredictable where exactly it's going to catch. You know what I mean? Because like when they shift, they sort of catch on each other, and then it kind of like snaps, and um, and so you don't really know. I mean, I don't. They don't really know. They can't really know where. So that's why I was saying, if you live at the plate borders, the tectonic plate borders, then just like get away from there during that time period. And because I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it's going to be Los Angeles. I don't know if it's going to be Japan. I don't know, right? Well, so it ended up being Japan, and like I said before, and I'm not going to go on and on about this, but 20,000 people, they died, and it's really, really tragic. I mean, it's look, I believe in God, so I believe that those people, like, they were taken out of their bodies and that they didn't suffer. But even so, that's pretty damn scary. And I don't want that to happen to my friends. And I don't want that to happen to my family and the people that I love. Because for you, maybe it'll just be that God takes you out of your body and you won't have to suffer. You won't have to drown, nothing. Maybe that's the way it's going to happen for you. And so you'll be fine. But for the rest of us, though, for the rest of us, we're going to be suffering because we're going to be thinking about you and how did how and we're going to be horrified, and we're going to be upset, and it's going to change the whole world basically. And that's why I'm saying, like, I don't know why they built a city there. Like, that is, I swear to God, it is the worst place to build a city. It's so bad. I mean, I looked at the geology of it and I did the research. If you guys have time, you could do it yourself and see it yourself. It's a sand basin in a crack that's that was that is in between the tectonic plates. So the tectonic plates are, remember how I said the crust of the earth is um the crust of the earth is like a thin layer on the outer parts, and in the inside there's magma underneath. And the magma, when it pushes out, or when it's magnetically attracted to another massive object like this one that's coming in, it pushes on the crust, causing the crust of the earth to heave. And that's how the tectonic plates were formed, because the earth's crust cracked. And so the there's 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 like I can't remember how many tectonic plates there are. Maybe I don't remember. It's not very many. It's like 7 or something like that, because they're huge. Like the whole Pacific Ocean is one tectonic plate. So anyway, the cracks in the Earth's crust go all the way down to the magma. So I mean, you can imagine that when there's activity in the magma of the Earth, which what causes activity in the magma um, is astronomical bodies. Okay, the sun, the moon, even, and the other objects like comets and other objects that have a lot of mass. They would have to have a lot of mass to cause the magma to respond to it, but it does. And that's what causes the earthquakes, because the magma, it's magma under the earth, and yada yada, plate tectonic, all that stuff. um and so Um, so try to get to the point here. I'm trying to tell you guys this as fast as I can. Um, so so hold on. I gotta go take care of something, and then I'll finish this. Okay, so that's basically just a little short history of what has happened this year, and how I was basically postulating that the Earth was, I told you all that I was postulating that the Earth was gonna that the axis was going to shift because of this magnetic interference between this object and the sun. And then what happened? I made a prediction. I said, okay, based on this idea, then the axis should shift between March 11th and March 15th. And then what happened? It happened. That's exactly what happened. Um, and so that's why now you have a lot more people um, on board with this idea, and they're preparing. They're saying, okay, well, the next alignment then is September 26th. Okay, so this next alignment is different because it's actually it's going between or it's the object is whipping around the sun. So see, it's been moving its way closer to Earth for, well, for like 13,000 years, but we first noticed it within this past, I don't know, the ancient. See, what happened was there was a secret society called the Knights Templar and some of these other societies that actually knew about this object. And they had gone and they had collected, well, stole basically. They had stolen. And I don't know. Maybe it wasn't the Knights Templar that stole it. There was a group. I think it was a Catholic church actually. I don't know who it was, but this group of people that have basically like know that this thing is coming, and they've known about it for like hundreds of years. They um they put this, all the stuff that I put together and postulated. They did this a long time ago because they had gone through all the ancient Egyptian texts. They had gone through, like, it's basically the power mongers, like the people that run our society and our civilization. They're the ones that are the descendants of these people that um they have been running things, for a long, long time. They're all about running things on the planet. They want to be in charge. And so they've gone and they stole manuscripts and documents from all these ancient cultures, and they had all this information. So they were ready they were looking for this object by the time they had the technology, telescopes and stuff like that. They were looking for this object. So they knew a long time ago, and they made the choice not to tell us, but they made the choice to not tell us in an overt fashion. They made a choice to tell us in a covert fashion. So they were like, oh, we'll just tell them in movies, and we'll give them little hints and stuff like that. And that's the way that they chose to do it. But I'm not, I don't agree with that, but I won't like go into, I think that's really lame, but I won't even like go into that right now. The point is, like, I'm telling you, you know what I mean? Like, I'm telling you, and I know you're not going to listen. I know a lot of people aren't going to listen because they're going to say, "Oh, well, who's she? Like, why should I listen to her? She's not an authority figure." But you know what? Don't don't base your ideas on like who the person is, or those things. What you need to do is you need to use reasoning. See, you need to use your reason, and you need to say, well, what is the logic of this? What is being laid out here, and how can I research this myself, and go through the reasoning process myself, and decide um, whether or not I think this is logical reasoning, whether or not I think this theory is valid, or even cogent. Okay, like you would need to go through the argument and actually look at the facts themselves. You know what I'm saying? Not the person. That's not the way you determine whether something is true or not. You don't determine it by oh, well, did it come from CNN or Fox? No, 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 no. That's not the way you determine um, um, validity or cogency. That's not the way you do it. The way you do it is by looking at the facts and using your reasoning. So that's what I'm trying to. That's why I'm appealing to your reasoning ability. I'm saying look at the facts and listen to my argument and what I'm saying the reasons are for you to get the hell out of Los Angeles as soon as you possibly can. Like I so that's what I'm trying to tell you in this final. I say final. I always say final. It's probably not my final video, but whatever. This video that I'm making, that's what I'm trying to say to you is I'm just trying to like just talk to you like I'd be talking to you on the street. I'm not going to edit this video because I'm so sick of that crap. I just want you guys to understand there's reasons why I'm saying this stuff. There's facts behind what I'm saying. Um, okay, so let's finish it. Okay, so that's what happened March 11th. I postulated this was going to happen. My intuition told me yes, it was for sure going to happen, but it did happen, and that warranted further investigation. That's why you have a lot more people investigating the subject now. That's why you're seeing articles about it on CNN and MSNBC. By the way, those articles are total bullshit. Oh, excuse my language. Those articles, I'm going to try not to curse. Those articles are not factual, okay? Just so you guys know. So if you want to actually get information, don't just read the articles that the media gives you cuz um I've read those articles and they're not factual. I mean they're well what they do is they point out the stupidest ideas that there are out there about Elenin that aren't even based on the facts. And they're like, "Oh, well people think that blah blah blah." Well, yeah, maybe some crazy person out there thinks, something crazy about it, but that's not the main theory about it. So you guys I need to like look at the actual facts of what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you the facts here that if I can remember all of them, I'm going to try to remember all the reasons that I personally had for getting out of Los Angeles and why I'm telling you now. I really, really think you should get out of there like as soon as you possibly can because it's a bad geological location. It's right on the edge of the plate boundary between the North American plate and the Pacific plate. And like I was telling you before, those plates are they're cracks in the crust. So that crack that's right off the coast of Los Angeles, it's right it's right out off the coast. I mean, you know the San Andreas Fault, right? That's different from the plate boundary because the San Andreas Fault doesn't. A fault line is a crack too, but it doesn't go all the way down to the bottom of the Earth's crust. That's the difference between a fault line and the tectonic plate boundary. A fault line is a shallow crack. Well, it's not shallow from our perspective, it's shallow from the Earth's perspective. A fault line, like the San Andreas Fault, is a shallow crack in the Earth's crust. But the plate boundary, though, that they never talk about on the news, by the way, they don't talk about the fact that the freaking plate boundary is right off the coast of Los Angeles. They don't talk about that. That's different. A plate boundary is a crack that goes all the way down to the magma of the Earth. So that's why you have, like, if you look at a plate boundary map or a volcano map, it's all the same thing. The volcanoes are on the plate boundaries. That's why, because the crack goes all the way down to the magma of the Earth. So when something happens, that magma comes up through that crack and it goes out through the Earth's crust, which is what the volcanoes actually are. Um, um, okay, so they're like whatever. Anyway, so the plate boundary is right off the coast of Los Angeles. The San Andreas Fault, which is shallower crack, is it's like to the east of Los Angeles, and the plate boundary that goes all the way down to the bottom of the Earth's crust, that's just off the coast of Los Angeles. Well, and there's a cliff. There's a cliff, and actually, in reality, In reality, nobody really knows where that plate boundary exactly is. Because you know why? They can't drill that far down. Okay? So you might have like scientists going, well, no, that's not where the boundary. Well, guess what? Nobody knows, okay? But if you look at a map, if you look at a geological map, you will see a cliff off the coast of Los Angeles called the Pacific Rim. And that cliff is, it goes down from Los Angeles, goes down to the Pacific. And my theory, I guess, my idea is that that is the plate boundary, that's where the plate boundary is. That's why there's a significant difference in height, that the Pacific plate is slightly lower than the North American plate. So that's why I'm saying that, because I say that Pacific rim is the true plate boundary. But like I said, nobody really knows because they can't drill that far down to find out. Okay, so what I'm saying is, you got the plate boundary right there. Wherever it is exactly, I don't know. The plate boundary is right there where you are in Los Angeles. And also, Los Angeles itself is sitting on top of sand that accumulated in a crack of that plate boundary. So, like a long time ago, plate boundary shifted all this stuff, and there was this little crack between the plate boundaries, and sand and loose gravel and stuff like that accumulated in that crack, and that's what Los Angeles is built on. Think about that. And right on the coast of the Pacific Ocean. So you've got a cliff off to your west, got a cliff going off into the ocean. You got the ocean right there, and you know that earthquakes on the floor of the ocean cause tidal waves, right? And that the tectonic plate boundaries are what cause earthquakes, right? Okay, and you're sitting on top of loose sand. Well, from the Earth's perspective, it's loose. I mean, you're sitting on sand that is in a crack of the plate boundary at the top of a cliff that goes off into the ocean. So it's one of the worst geological areas that they could have built a city. I mean, I can't believe that there's a city there. That's why I'm saying, when I started really doing the research, I was like, I gotta get out of here. This is a bad place. And I don't know if you guys noticed, I put this in my favorites. You know that girl, what's that girl's name? The one that sang that song Quicksand. You look it up on YouTube, and there's a song called Quicksand, and it sort of looks like Los Angeles. Like the video that she does sort of looks like Los Angeles, and I'm like, oh, that's scary, because that's exactly how I feel about Los Angeles. I feel like you guys are on quicksand. When the magma, not right now, obviously right now everything's pretty calm, right? And so you don't notice anything. People tend to think that things are going to stay the way that they've been thus far. But what I'm saying is, this massive object that's entering our solar system, and there's all kinds of proof. They were announcing it, like in the 80s. They were announcing this thing. They were talking about how it was, they had found it, and you could only see it in the infrared, and all this stuff, and it was massive, and yada yada yada. And then suddenly they just stopped talking about it. And then in the early 90s they mentioned it again. They're like, oh yeah. And then suddenly it was closer. Like the first time they mentioned it, it was like 7 billion miles away, and then in the 90s it was 4 billion miles away. And so some people who'd been paying attention were like, what's going on here? You know what I'm saying? Um, and I first started studying this in the 90s, so I anyway, whatever. The point is that you got to get out of there, okay? You got to get out. You got to get out, please. It's bad. I mean, when this thing passes the sun, passes the sun, because see, it's been, like I said, in the 80s it was 7 billion miles from the sun. In the 90s it was 4 billion miles from the sun. In 2010 it was ways away from the sun, but it caused the axis of the Earth to shift when we went in between the interference. Again, in 2011, it caused the axis to shift when we went in between it and the sun in the interference. But now, this year, it's passing. It's going around the sun in September. At the end of September, it's finally rounding the sun. 13,000 years. 13,000 years. 13,000 year orbit it has. So, um, so, um, I mean, whether or not you get into the whole Planet X theories and all this stuff, because the reason why people are calling it Planet X is um, because in the 80s that's what they were saying. They were like, "Is this another planet? Because it's this massive object that's causing perturbations. Perturbations are alter their orbits are being slightly altered. The planets, the outer planets, their orbits were being slightly altered, which is called perturbations. And so they noticed that their orbits, the scientists noticed that their orbits were being altered, the outer planets, and so they went and they were trying to find it, and then they found in the infrared, with the infrared telescope that they had, they found the object, and then they announced it on the news in the 80s, and then they announced it again in the 90s, and like I said, it was getting closer to. If you hadn't paid attention to that, you wouldn't know that, and that's their whole way of letting us know. Like that's their way of saying, that's their way of letting us know that they're not going to make an announcement, and the president's not going to get up and like make an announcement. It's just, they're not going to do it. They're not going to do it that way because they're too scared. They think we're all a bunch of crazy animals and we're going to like riot and they'll lose a bunch. And the main thing is that they're going to lose money. That's why, because they want the money because they're building underground bunkers. So hold on, I got to change my battery. Because can you imagine them evacuating all of Los Angeles? I mean, it's not going to happen. They're not going to do that. So you just, um, because even if they know that this thing passing, I think maybe what I don't really know, but maybe they think that it's just going to completely wipe out the whole world and nobody's going to survive. I don't know. I don't believe that. I don't believe that because it says in the Bible that people survive. It says in the Bible, because the Bible, by the way, for those of you that don't know this, the Bible actually has record of this object passing in the past, and that's what Noah's flood was all about. That's what that was like, um, because the Egyptians also documented it, and the Egyptians were the ones that were like, this was by the fiery object in the sky. That's what caused the plagues of Egypt. Like that's what caused all this stuff. It was a fiery object in the sky, and and the Hebrews were like, um that's what caused the flood, and they actually got the story of the flood from, or well, it's the same story of the Sumerian story, which, if you don't know, Sumeria is the first civilized city that we had in our present civilization, was the first one. That's what Sumeria is. So Sumeria, they had a story about a great flood, and pretty much all the ancient religions did, because there was one. That's why, because there was a cataclysm, and it was caused by an object. And surprise, surprise, this object has a 13,000 year orbit. And surprise, surprise, at the same time, there's geological evidence that that there was a cataclysm between 15,000 BC and 11,000 BC. And that was when correct me if I'm wrong, that was when the Siberian freeze happened. If you look that up, the Siberian freeze. Okay, but I'm not trying to scare you guys. I believe that there are going to be survivors to this, because there were survivors the last time. But you and it's, we would have to go, depending on how big it is. I mean, I don't know, because I didn't know how big the axis shift was going to be in March, and I don't know how big this one's going to be either. But but anyway, um, uh, if you guys want to see the evidence of why I believe this thing is about to happen, you can go to my video that I made called "Evidence of a Fall Apocalypse."
And that video basically gives the information that I've been reading about over the past 15 years or something. And but there's a lot of stuff that I just didn't even think to put in there. For example, um, one of the things that I didn't uh, remember to put in there was this Swiss franc. The Swiss franc was printed 230 years ago, and on the 10, the 10 franc, um, it there is an artist um, drawing of a planetary of the solar system, and a long elliptical object entering into the solar system like a comet or something. And if you look at the planets in the drawing, it's the exact planetary alignment for September 26, 2011. Um, that is when Elenin, comet Elenin, is circling around the sun, and it goes between the Earth and the sun. So it goes exactly between the Earth and the sun um, on September 26th of this year. Now that's pretty weird. You guys have to admit that. I mean, if you, I understand that, like, for some reason some people are just, they're just really freaked out by this and they're really scared. But there's no reason to be afraid, because all you got to do is just get out of those. You know what I mean? You just got to get out of LA. LA is a bad. It's 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 a danger zone. I mean, it's like you're standing on quicksand. You got to get out of there. You just got to get out of there. And the thing about LA is, like, I just wouldn't even. I mean, I made a video before. I'm just gonna delete it because it was just me ranting about. I'm just gonna delete it. But um, that video that I made, I had said, just take a vacation at the end of September. But now I'm saying, um, if you can get out of there before the end of September, I would recommend that you do that, that you just get out of there as soon as you possibly can. Because, um, I mean, yeah, the alignment happens at the end of September, but we don't really know. I mean, nobody knows. Nobody knows. You know what I'm saying? It could happen before that. And the other thing is, there's this. I remember the Hopi tribe had a legend. They said that the blue and red kachina would come again, that it had been here before and it would come again. And they said the blue kachina comes before the red kachina. Well, everybody pretty much agrees Elenin is the red kachina, because, well, the reason is because Elenin is and the other thing is, the Egyptians had, they said that there was some object in the constellation Orion, Leo, and Virgo, and then they had built their pyramid. They had built their three pyramids to align with Orion's belt, and then they built their sphinx. Is their sphinx has the body of a lion and the head of a woman. Well, what women looked like back then. So you look at it and you're like, okay, so what does this mean? It means that there was an object that was coming to us from, when you first see it, it's in the constellation Orion because it's really far away, and it stays in the constellation Orion from our perspective for the longest period of time. And then the next to the longest period of time, it's in the constellation of Leo. And then for a very short period of time, it's in Virgo. And then it goes back, and then it goes back out when it crosses, and this is from our perspective, from Earth's perspective, when it is passing by the sun at the end of September, it's in the constellation of Virgo, and it actually is at the tip of Virgo's hand, exactly. Virgo, constellation Virgo, if you actually look at the stars themselves and not the artwork, the constellation of Virgo, the actual stars, is, you can see that the woman, because Virgo means woman, her arm is raised above her head. And that is where Elenin will be on September 30th of this year. Elenin will be right at the tip of her, where her hand would be. and her arm is raised above her head. Well, I mean, that's what the Statue of Liberty is. That's what the Statue of Liberty is. It's a woman raising a torch above her head. Um, so, I mean, this is their way of communicating to us what's happening. Because it's not that they don't want people to know, it's that they're not going to make an official announcement. Um, Also on September 30th, if you've ever read the Bible, if you've ever been interested in the Bible, it's September 30th is falls into the Jewish holiday Rosh Hashanah, which is the Feast of Trumpets. And so a lot of people online are saying they think the rapture is going to happen at the end of September, right before this stuff happens. Oh, because the other thing is also on September 30th, Saint John in the book of Revelation, Revelation 12, said that Revelation is all these visions that Saint John had. And in Revelation 12, he says, "And I saw a vision in the sky of a woman clothed with the sun and the moon beneath her feet, and a crown of 12 stars on her head." Well, that's the constellation Virgo. Constellation Virgo has 12 stars in her head. There's an astronomer, I can't remember his name, but it's in one of my old videos. There was an astronomer that showed us that like years ago, that Virgo actually has 12 stars in her head. Um, and and he said he saw another wonder, a great red dragon with a tail of sparks, and the dragon um, slung its tail, slung the stars to the earth, or something like slung a tail of sparks to the earth, which basically would be meteors. Well, when this comet is passing between the Earth and the Sun on September 26th, um, the tail of a comet actually will be going toward Earth, um, because the radiation from the sun pushes the tail outward from the comet. So as the comet goes around the sun, the tail goes out away from the sun, and Earth will be right on the other side of the tail. So when it goes between the sun, when the comet goes between the sun and the Earth, the tail will go directly towards Earth on September 26th, around September 26th. Um, and then so that's also St. John had said, and at that time there was a great earthquake, like a global earthquake, which is like the shifting of the axis. So, and we already know that the axis shifted twice before, when we went through the magnetic interference of this object in the sun. So this time it's a little different because the object's going between us and the sun, so it's gonna be a little different. It's not exactly the same thing as what it was, um, with the Chile earthquake and the Japan earthquake. It's gonna be different because it's gonna be a lot closer this time. And we know it has mass. We know it has a lot of mass, because why else would it cause the shifting of the Earth's axis? So we know it has a lot of mass, and it's coming between. It's going to be very close to us, September 26th, when it's going between the Earth and the Sun. But then it gets even closer. It keeps going around the sun, and we keep going around the sun, and then we sort of like intersect, and or not intersect, but we go right past each other. Our orbits intersect. um, and it that when its closest point to the Earth is actually October 17th. Okay. Um, Now, here's the other thing. Carl Kalaman is a Mayan researcher, and he says that the Mayan calendar actually ends October 28th, 2011. Well, now check this out. Elenin's orbit goes from um 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 it it reaches its closest point to the Earth October 17th of this year, and then as it's going out, uh actually there's another alignment around November 22nd, which is interesting because that's the day Kennedy was murdered. And Kennedy was the one that was totally against secret societies. Remember, he was the one that was like, no, I refuse to participate in secret societies. And then what happened to him? Well, we all know that story. Um, so Anyway, coincidentally, he was murdered on November 22nd, and that's when the next alignment is of that's when Earth goes between the sun and Elenin again, November 22nd of this year. And then the last alignment, which is similar to the Japanese earthquake, March 11th alignment, the next alignment that happens is, check this out, December 23rd, 2012. How do you like that? So, um, I mean, it's really obvious somebody's trying to tell us something, and they're trying to tell us, they're like saying, hey, you know what? These people deserve to have a chance to survive. And there will be people to survive because the Bible tells us, and every other civilization that has recorded this, they always say that people survive. And how else will we have the information if people hadn't survived? So people will survive, but if you're living on quicksand, you know what I'm saying? Like, you got to get out of there. You got to get to somewhere where there's no fault lines, there's no volcanoes, and there's no, basically just get away from the plate boundaries. You'll probably be good. Except there is a big fault line in central U.S. where the New Madrid fault line is in the central U.S. But other than that, I mean, you just need to get away from those plate boundaries. And the Rocky Mountains are the western side of the plate boundary. And then anything east of the Rocky Mountains is pretty much, it's in the middle of the North American plate, so it's away from those boundaries and those and all that stuff. But then you also have Yellowstone. Yellowstone is a super volcano, and that's up in uh Miami, or what the hell am I talking about? Not, it's up in I have no idea why I just said that. It's up in Wisconsin, and so, or not Wisconsin. What the hell? It's that state up there, Montana or something. Yeah, no, it actually Wyoming. Wyoming. It's up in Wyoming. So, I mean, think about that, because Yellowstone is in the northwest corner of Wyoming. Um, so I mean, I'm just telling you, just keep that in mind. But other than that, I mean, it's not this totally lost cause. It's not like the world's going to end. But I mean, the scientists have already said, it's not just me. The scientists have already been warning us that they expect there to be huge solar storms, and the solar storms um, could cause power outages. Like, literally, this is what they said. They said the solar storms could cause global power outages. So that's why I've been saying, like, just get away from the tectonic plate boundaries, and have like some food and stuff, have some food and water, and have like some ways of staying warm. You know what I mean? Like, have equipment with you that you can like start a fire, or you can cook something, or have like a cook stove, or you know what I mean, just something like that, where you're not going to be in a situation where you're going to die if you can't go to the grocery store. You know what I'm saying? I mean, just start getting more self-reliant so that you can save your family. And that's the whole reason why I've been making these videos, because I've taken the steps to save my family. And I want you to also survive, and I want you to get away from danger zone. And you know what? Hey, if nothing happens, and I really don't think nothing's gonna happen, but if nothing happens, then you know at least you're not in that danger zone. I mean, scientists are already telling us that LA, that the big one is going to happen within 20 to 30 years. They're already saying that. So you might as well just get out of there. Just get out of there as soon as you can. At the very, very minimum, if you can't leave, you really, really can't leave, at the very, very minimum, just please take a vacation at the end of September when this alignment happens. Take a vacation when the alignment happens at the end of September, and take a vacation when it happens in November too. You know what I'm saying? If, things aren't totally drastically different by then. I don't know, cuz I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm basing my ideas on what has already happened, what the scientists have been telling us, um et cetera, et cetera. And that's pretty much what that's why you have all these people on YouTube that are going crazy and saying, this stuff's going to happen, because these are the other people that have also been doing research, and they know that, you know something's going on. Like we're getting messages here. We're getting like they're throwing us little peanuts. Like they're making preparations. The governments have been building underground bunkers. I mean, Norway actually, they put it on the news. They actually advertised and said, "Yeah, we're building a big seed bunker. We're going to store all the seeds that we have in this bunker in Norway." And the governments all over the world are building bunkers underground, um, bunkers, and they plan to have some people survive in those underground bunkers. And um, and uh, it says in Revelation, St. John says that after this great earthquake, and then he starts talking about like um, he talks about a great war. Right after that, he says, and then there's a great war. He says the great war is in heaven. So I don't know. I mean, I don't really, there's a lot of stuff that I don't know about that, especially about I haven't uh, I've done as much research as I can, but that's it's limited. But there's a lot of people that are saying that they think the rapture is going to happen at the end of September, just because all this stuff is happening right at Rosh Hashanah. And the thing about that is that Rosh Hashanah is a feast of trumpets. And in Revelation, that's what St. John's saying. He's telling us all these things are going to happen at the blowing of trumpets. You see what I'm saying? So it's kind of like it's all code, and the Bible is code actually. Um, I mean, I used to think when I was younger, when I was growing up, I was like, oh, this is stupid. Like, give me a break. It's supposed to be real. No, but then later on, I realized, wait a minute, this is code. Like, this is actually this is information that was handed down to us with code, because of the power mongers, because the power mongers would take the information and they wouldn't want us to have it, so they'd hide it. But it was handed down in a way that people didn't understand what it was when they made like the King James version and stuff like that. They didn't know what it meant, so they were like, oh, just put it in there. We don't even know what it means. Well, now we can decode it, and we know what it means, because we know this comet is coming by. We know what the woman clothed with the sun. We know that's Virgo. The moon's beneath her feet on September 30th, and the comet is right at the tip of her hand on September 30th of this year. I mean, it's all coming together. And then the people that have really been doing research about the other stuff that the Bible says. The Bible says that people are going to be saved, that people on the earth are actually going to be saved from this cataclysm. And um and um, you need to go to them and talk to them, because my research hasn't been the rapture. But there's some pretty good videos on there of people that have actually studied the Bible, and they've gone in there like, I really think this is going to happen at the end of September. The feast, I'll just regurgitate to you what I have heard them say, is that the Feast of Trumpets is 3 days. It's September 28th, September 29th. The Feast of Trumpets is September, I think it's September 28th, 29th, and 30th. It's a new moon. It's always a new moon. And the reason that the Jews had these festivals is they said that their festivals were given to them by God. So, um, and they were instructed to keep those festivals and they did. I mean, they kept these festivals for thousands of years, and there's a reason for that. Um, and the reason is that, um, you know, when we would get to these days, these what they call the last days of our civilization, where it's not, I mean, it's not like the end of the world. It's just the last days of our current civilization and the way things are going. And I mean, for you know, this civilization and the way things are going. I mean, you guys, I'm sure you guys see it. I mean, they're talking about roboticize. They're basically trying to roboticize humanity. Um, I mean, they've got all these microchips now, and they're talking about they microchip our pets now, and they're talking about microchipping us, and it's. I mean, that's the way this civilization is going. I mean, if you really think about it, it's really obvious that we're not going in the right direction. We're really not. I mean, I'm not against computers. I love computers. I love technology. I love it. The problem is that um when you've got people that want to control others, and that's their whole point, and they're running things, that's just not going to be a good thing. You know what I mean? That's not going to be a good thing when we're all um and I mean, I could sit here and I could tell you about the technology that they're using. They're experimenting on it on innocent people. The military is experimenting with advanced technology on innocent human beings. So I believe the reason that they're doing that, and you can watch some of my other videos on that. I mean, there's evidence. There's actual patents um, for this technology. I'll make another video and tell you guys about it. I mean, they've got technology. They've got a voice file on everybody. They've got, they can take your voice, they can plug it into a software, they can play it back saying whatever they type into the software. They can have a phone conversation with your best friend using your voice file. Your best friend's thinking they're having a conversation with you. They can interrogate people that way. Um, they actually the whole reason that I know about that was because I was taken I was at a guy there was a software engineer or there was an engineer tech sound engineer that showed me this software, and that was after I had already been victim of it because they had experimented with it on me. They had a phone conversation with my mother when I was in my early 20s, and she told me I should consider being a prostitute, which I can guarantee you my mother would never say that. So, I mean, I went through some really, really tough times, just knowing that something really wrong was going on, but I just didn't understand what it was. Now I get it. Now I know what it is. They're experimenting with this technology because they're planning to use it. Okay, they're planning to use it on the greater population. So I can tell you firsthand that we're going in a bad direction. Our civilization is going to. So it's not a bad thing that God is going to put an end to this civilization. That's a good thing. It's a good thing because it's going in a really bad area. We would end up like Borgs, you guys. If you ever saw Star Trek, we would end up like Borg slaves. I mean, we would, if this civilization kept going in the direction it's going, we would end up with all kinds of microchips and crap in our bodies. We would have like we'd end up like the Borg. I mean, and we would be total slaves. We would be totally mindless slaves. So please believe me when I say, I mean, this is a good thing that our civilization is coming to an end. It's not worth it. It's not worth it to like choose to be um on the side of the world, like as Jesus said, bring yourself out of the world. That means separate yourself from this stuff. Separate yourself from where they're going because they are not going in the right direction. They're not. So, bring yourself back to nature. Bring yourself back to, um, taking care of yourself, loving others, not hating others, and I mean that's hard, when people are being mean to you or whatever, but just trying to be as kind to others as you possibly can, and begging forgiveness for everything you've ever done in the past. You know what I mean? Just pray and just beg, just be like, I can't, I don't know, just help me please, and just I'm just telling you that because I firmly, I just know it's true. I just know that we're not alone in the universe. We were planted here. We were put here as a gift to us, a beautiful paradise Earth, and look what we did to it. We've destroyed it. So it has to be cleansed. It has to be purified. That was what the Hopis said as well. And that's what I believe that the truth is. So I'm telling you guys, like Los Angeles is literally like one of the absolute worst areas you could play. Please, 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 just get out of there as soon as you possibly can. And the other thing is about the blue and red kachina that the Hopis had a prophecy about. There is a uh, comet. It's called Comet Honda or something, and it is passing close by the Earth on August 16th, I think it is. It's just like in a couple of days. It's really close to us right now. And some people think Comet Honda is the blue kachina. The Hopi prophecy says the blue kachina will come first, and then the red kachina will cleanse and purify the earth. That's the Hopi prophecy. Um, And some people think Comet Honda is the Blue Kachina because it's coming really close to Earth this month, and then Elenin is coming passing by next month. The other thing about something something weird. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I just have this. I have a bad feeling about August, but I have a bad feeling about every month. It seems like so. I'm not going to use that as like my reason you guys should get out of there. Except that there are some kind of weird things. I mean, like Carl Kalaman, the guy that said that the Mayan calendar ends October 20th. If you go to his website, he has this timeline, and supposedly he says it's like this spiritual thing, but I don't know. It's kind of weird. He says that, but I don't know if that's really what it is. You know what I mean? Like maybe it's not. Anyway, his timeline says August 18th through September something, and it says destruction. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what that means, but I'm just telling you guys to get out of LA because that earthquake could happen at any time, and this massive object that's coming in, it is affecting seismicity on the planet. It's affecting the tectonic plates. So now is the time to get out of there. You know what I'm saying? Like not next year, not now. Like you got to get out of there as soon as you can, and at the very very minimum, get out of there before September 26th. That's what I'm saying. So I'm not going to keep going on and on. I just wanted you guys to know that I freaking love you so much. Like I just have so much. My friends and my family members that live there, I that's why I'm making these videos. That is truly why I'm doing this. 'Cause I want to share with you the reason I left LA, and I want to share with you the reason why I that's just what I'm saying. That's all. So anyway, um you guys do what you're gonna do, and peace out.